Jack Marlowe's driveway was a perfect white sheet at 6:59 a.m., untouched, pristine, waiting. He rubbed his hands together in thick gloves and looked at the Snowblower like a loyal old dog ready for the morning battle. Then his phone buzzed with the sudden sharpness of bad news. HOA complaint. Operation of Snowblower before 7 a.m. violation notice. He blinked, thinking it was a joke. Across the street, the neatly trimmed hedges of the Peachtree subdivision glinted in the early light. Mrs. Delaney, HOA president, stepped onto her porch, coffee cup in hand, smiling in a way that was anything but friendly. Jack exhaled sharply and started the Snowblower at exactly 7:01 a.m. The engine roared to life, cutting through the cold morning air. Snow sprayed in arcs across the driveway. Neighbors peeked out windows, some shivering in their pajamas, some smirking. Jack ignored them. He focused on the edges of his property, feeling the invisible lines that had suddenly become battlegrounds. By mid-morning, Jack was digging through HOA rules online, scrolling through legalese that felt like a foreign language. Hidden clauses, buried easements, town permissions. He noted every loophole. The ban on Snowblowers wasn't just petty. It was deliberate control, subtle and suffocating. He called his lawyer during lunch. "I might have leverage," the lawyer said, voice cautious. "The HOA doesn't technically own the easement through your property. It's town-owned, but you might be able to reclaim it." Leverage. Jack's fingers drummed on the kitchen counter. A simple Snowblower violation had opened a door to a much bigger fight. He thought of the pristine winter morning outside and how fragile the peace really was. By evening, Jack had set up cameras along his property lines, small and discreet. He wanted evidence, not theatrics. He wanted the truth, and he wanted the upper hand. Snow fell heavier again, muffling the sounds of the quiet neighborhood. But he felt it, a presence, someone watching, somewhere, waiting for the first misstep. He looked out the window, the amber glow from a distant street lamp reflecting on the snow. The HOA office was dark across town, but he could sense a shadow behind the blinds, an observer who thought this was just a minor complaint. They didn't know how far he could go. Tomorrow, he would start reclaiming more than just a right to clear his driveway. Tomorrow, the Snowblower would be the first move in a game that had just begun. And Jack Marlowe? He never lost games he could see coming. Jack didn't sleep much that night. The hum of the Snowblower still echoed in his mind, and the image of Mrs. Delaney's smug face haunted him. By sunrise, he was already outside, notebook in hand, pacing along the edges of his property. He studied the tracks of HOA maintenance trucks from the previous week, noting every turn, every shortcut. Every inch of his land was a potential weak point. His first breakthrough came when he dug into town records. Buried in decades-old documents were references to the easement the HOA claimed. Technically, it belonged to the town, not the HOA. That meant Jack had the right to challenge them legally and maybe even reclaim control. But there was more, something darker, hidden in the fine print. One afternoon, Jack discovered a series of corporate filings linking the HOA to a shell company he'd never heard of. They weren't just enforcing petty rules. They were quietly buying influence over the subdivision, over the land itself. The Snowblower ban? A test, a probe, to see how much control they could assert without backlash. Jack set up small cameras along the driveway and side paths. He watched deliveries and HOA trucks come and go. There were signals, subtle, almost invisible. A flash of a reflective tag. A brief pause at certain intersections. A coded knock on the front doors of select houses. The HOA was organized, but sloppy. Patterns emerged if you looked long enough. The next confrontation came without warning. Mrs. Delaney appeared at his door at 7:30 a.m., a thin scarf wrapped tightly against the cold. "Jack," she said, voice sugar-sweet, "we just want to maintain peace in the neighborhood. Please follow the rules." Jack didn't flinch. Peace? Or control? He asked calmly. He didn't need to raise his voice. The quiet accusation cut deeper than shouting ever could. She glanced toward the street, where a delivery truck idled. Timing was precise. Something unseen was orchestrating this. Jack had seen enough to know the HOA's reach went further than local rules. They were building influence, tracking compliance, testing loyalty. By the weekend, Jack had gathered everything: maps, photographs, videos, and the town easement documentation. Every loophole, every violation, every move the HOA had made in secret. He organized it all, piece by piece, like assembling a puzzle that would expose the truth. Still, he waited. Patience was part of his strategy. Let them think they were winning. Let them believe the Snowblower ban was enough to intimidate him. Each day, he quietly gathered more evidence, setting a trap of documentation, timing, and precision. Late Saturday night, as snow began to fall again, Jack sat by the window, reviewing footage of the HOA trucks and coded signals. The glow from his laptop reflected in the snow outside. Somewhere out there, someone was watching him too. But this time, the observer didn't know he was already being observed. Jack leaned back, a thin smile forming. "They think this is about a snowblower," he muttered to himself. "They have no idea what's coming next." The battle had moved from driveway disputes to a silent war over control, and Jack was already several moves ahead. Tomorrow, the escalation would begin, and it would be in full public view. The community center was buzzing with chatter, the fluorescent lights bouncing off polished floors. Homeowners shuffled in, clutching coffee cups and gossip, unaware of the storm about to hit. Jack Marlowe arrived last, carrying a thick binder under his arm, eyes calm, calculating, every step measured. Mrs. Delaney stood at the podium, her voice smooth, rehearsed. "Our community rules exist to keep Peachtree safe, harmonious, and orderly. We trust every homeowner to respect them." She smiled, and the room nodded in polite agreement. But Jack could see it. Her confidence was brittle, ready to crack. Jack stepped forward, his calm presence commanding attention. "Harmony?" he asked, voice steady, cutting through the hum of conversation. "Let's redefine that word." He placed the binder on the table and opened it to a series of printed maps, photographs, and corporate filings. A projector clicked on, illuminating the first slide, a color-coded map of the easements, showing the exact areas the HOA trucks had crossed without legal authority. Gasps echoed around the room. Every inch of property they claimed to control, not theirs. Every snowblower restriction, every unannounced inspection, illegal. "This isn't about safety. It's about control," Jack said. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The weight of evidence spoke louder than any shout could. He advanced to the next slide. Security footage showing HOA members exchanging signals, coordinating deliveries, and checking which homeowners complied with petty rules. Murmurs erupted. Phones were lifted to record. The board members shifted nervously, realizing the room had just flipped. Mrs. Delaney's mask slipped. "You can't just—" she began, voice trembling. "You already tried," Jack interrupted, clicking to the final slide, the town easement documentation. "I revoked your access. You no longer control this property. Your authority ends where my land begins." Silence fell, then a few shouts. A couple of residents demanded explanations. Some clapped quietly. Jack kept going, calmly walking the audience through every point, every loophole, every violation. Each slide punctuated the truth like a hammer striking glass. Then it happened. From the side door, a maintenance truck tried to sneak in, presumably to intimidate, but Jack had cameras on it. He projected the live feed. The truck froze on the screen. Every movement tracked, recorded, undeniable. The board froze, mouths open, realizing they were fully exposed. By the end, the room was in chaos. Mrs. Delaney's composure was shattered. Other board members scrambled for excuses. Jack closed the binder, his calm demeanor unshaken. The evidence was out. The public had seen everything. As he stepped back, a shadow flickered through the window. Someone watching silently from outside. Not part of the HOA. Someone larger, orchestrating from the wings. Jack noticed, narrowed his eyes. The battle with the board was over, but greater challenge had just revealed itself. Outside, snow fell silently, masking the footprints of both the victors and the unseen observer. Jack took a deep breath, knowing the neighborhood was safe, for now, but that someone, somewhere, was already planning the next move. The war had entered a new phase, and Jack was ready. Calm, calculating, and several steps ahead. The first quiet morning after the meeting felt surreal. Snow blanketed Peachtree like a fresh start. Driveways were clear, sidewalks untouched, and for the first time in months, Jack Marlowe could start his day without dread. The HOA board had resigned. Their authority crumbled under the weight of evidence. The neighborhood was free, or at least it seemed that way. Jack shoveled his driveway before sunrise, each push of the Snowblower a small victory. Neighbors waved as they passed, some shy, some openly grateful. Kids laughed in the distance, sleds cutting tracks across the untouched white. The peace was palpable, almost intoxicating. By mid-morning, town officials had arrived to officially recognize Jack's revocation of the easement. The trucks would no longer cross his land without permission. He watched the city workers from the porch, the warm glow of the sun reflecting off the snow, and felt a rare sense of closure. The petty feud with the HOA had been resolved, and justice, his kind of justice, had been served. Yet, despite the calm, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on him. A subtle unease, like a shadow brushing the edge of vision. He checked the perimeter cameras. All normal. The mail slot was empty. Even the streets seemed quiet. Too quiet. Late that evening, as he sat by the fireplace reviewing documents one last time, a notification pinged on his laptop. An email with no sender, no subject. Congratulations on winning the first round. The next one will be harder. Jack leaned back, eyes narrowing. Whoever had orchestrated the HOA's moves wasn't just a local board of busybodies. They were part of something larger, something patient and calculating. The shadow had been watching, learning, waiting. And now they had spoken. Outside, the snow continued to fall, muffling sound and masking footprints. The neighborhood seemed serene, but Jack knew better. Beneath the quiet streets, under the manicured lawns, unseen forces were moving, testing, watching, planning. He stood, walking to the window, coffee warming his hands, eyes scanning the distance. In the glow of a street lamp, a lone figure paused at the edge of the subdivision, observing, not approaching, just standing. Jack didn't flinch. He had learned to anticipate the moves of those who underestimated him. But he knew one thing: the battle for his land, his rights, and his peace was far from over. He closed the blinds, but the shadow remained in his mind. The neighborhood had regained its freedom, but freedom was fragile, and Jack's vigilance was now permanent. He poured a final cup of coffee, sat back, and allowed a small, wry smile. "Let them come," he muttered. "I'm ready." The camera, or imagination, would linger on Jack's calm, alert expression. The snow swirling outside, and the hint of something larger, more dangerous, waiting beyond the fences. The war for control had paused, but the story wasn't over. A new adversary had emerged, silent, patient, and infinitely more dangerous than any HOA complaint. The night was still, the snow endless, and the next chapter of the fight was already beginning.